We begin with news from New York. Devyani Khobragade, whose arrest triggered a diplomatic showdown between India and the United States, has finally been granted diplomatic immunity. The office of New York's prosecutor, the New York South District prosecutor, Preet, Bharara, said that Khobragade has been formally charged with visa fraud, but that she has also been granted full diplomatic immunity. This paves the way for her to leave the United States. However, Bharara also informed the judge that his office will not be dropping charges against her. The US government official said Washington had accepted India's request to accredit Ms. Khobragade to the United Nations. It then asked New Delhi to waive her immunity, as is sometimes the custom. However, India denied that request, and that prompted the US to ask New Delhi to repatriate her. Meanwhile, Devyani herself has said she will only leave the US after satisfying the court of her diplomatic status. She said, and I quote, "I will show my immunity to the court. The court will see that I have diplomatic immunity. Only then will I leave the US." Gaurav Sawant, our strategic affairs editor, is with us on the phone line. Gaurav, middle ground for both sides. Devyani gets her diplomatic immunity as India has demanded. The US continues to keep those charges on the books, but they're basically ineffective now.
Spot on, and this is exactly what should have happened on day one. India had protested the US high-handedness in the manner in which Devyani Khobragade was arrested. India initially said even if Devyani Khobragade had done something wrong, the US should have informed India. If she had done something wrong, she should have been declared persona non grata and sent her home. Now the US has done exactly that. US high-handedness was something India was protesting all along. The big breaking story that we are getting to our viewers here is the fact that the US finally acknowledges that Devyani Khobragade had diplomatic immunity, and the State Department has informed the court that. That's one part of the story. The second part of the story is Preet Bharara's office, which is the US prosecutor in the state of New York. He refuses to drop charges against her. They asked India to waive that diplomatic immunity, that India says no. And now Devyani Khobragade, even as we speak, in another 10 minutes, she would be flying out of the United States.
Gaurav, just to clarify for viewers, because there were two contentions for diplomatic immunity for Devyani Khobragade. One was that since she had been accredited for the UN General Assembly session as an advisor, she already had immunity. The story we're hearing, however, is that she's been granted immunity. Is that following the request for her transfer to the permanent mission?
So far, the U.S. State Department has not clarified that. The State Department, all they've said was she enjoys diplomatic immunity, yet since there is a case against her, she's effectively, being expelled from the United States of America. So she was the Deputy Consul General in New York, and that was India's point of view, that even when she was arrested and strip searched, she enjoyed diplomatic immunity. This is basically a political solution that has been found to this crisis, because India had very clearly said that Indo-US relations had hit a deep crater after the manner in which she was arrested, strip searched, and locked up in jail with prisoners and drug addicts and common criminals. That is what India had protested, and you and I both know the series of measures that India took subsequently, and the Indo-US relations, they didn't want the strategic tie-up to be affected in the manner in which it did. Considering in this bilateral relation, Nisha Desai's visit to India was affected, the Energy Secretary's visit to India was affected, and Indo-US ties were going down, and that is perhaps why the US and India look for this middle path.
Gaurav, I'm going to ask you to wear your strategic affairs hat right now. One of the problems with this entire case is it's revealed that despite being strategic partners, India and the US somehow seem to have forgotten how to do the very basics of diplomacy. Things such as diplomatic immunity, diplomatic courtesies, all of those seem to have been forgotten, which led to this huge series of back and forth between New Delhi and Washington, D.C. How did the two countries repair relations now?
Well, both countries, for one, said that, look, we are strategic partners and that is how we need to behave. But it actually became a game of brinkmanship. India very clearly told the United States what they had done was completely unacceptable. Nowhere in the world are diplomats treated the manner in which the United States did that. And India refused to accept the US plea that this is something that the prosecutor did and the State Department was not in the know, or the government was not in the know, because from the US Embassy in Delhi, which bought tickets for that maid, Sangeeta Richards' family, and claimed, a diplomatic tax waiver on those tickets. From the US Embassy in Delhi to the State Department in Washington, D.C., they signed up on this, and that is where India was furious. This is no way that strategic partners behave. And India then said that every relationship with the United States of America will be based on strict reciprocity, because this wasn't the matter, a case of the way one diplomat may or may not have behaved with the domestic help. India was in touch with the United States since June of 2012, 2013 on this case, and the United States for some reason wasn't responding. So India said there's a deeper, wider conspiracy in this matter.
Right.
India stopped all privileges for US diplomats, including privileges that were extended to the US ambassador in India, whether it was an airport courtesy, whether it was special other special treatments that were given to Nancy Powell.
Right.
All of them were withdrawn, and US knew India would walk the talk on this, and that is why with this change of heart or tact in the US.
Gaurav, I want to hold you for just a second. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra is with us for more perspectives on the story. Good morning, Ambassador, and thank you for speaking to Headlights today early in the morning. Devyani Khobragade finally been granted immunity as India has demanded for several weeks now. But in some ways, the entire episode exposes weaknesses in this strategic partnership.
Well, good morning to you. And I would call it much ado about nothing, because America really never thought twice before going ahead with something which is totally unnecessary, uncalled for, and against all diplomatic norms. In fact, the world seemed to be laughing at this pact between the two largest democracies, entirely of America's making. So this stepping back, even though not in full measure, is to be welcome, and let's hope that from now onwards, Indian diplomats are not harassed in America. And second, I think there's a larger lesson to be learned from here, especially for the Americans, that they should not take India for granted at every turn. And the lesson for India is that we must be a self-respecting nation. We must be able to stand and fight for the rights of not only Indian diplomats, but for Indian citizens and Indian interests. Only then the world would respect us.
Ambassador Dogra, thank you for speaking to Headlights today, sharing your time and perspectives with us. Also, thanks to Gaurav Sawant, our Strategic Affairs Editor, for getting us that news early this morning. Devyani Khobragade enjoying full immunity. However, charges against her will stay. This enables her to leave the United States. And as Gaurav told us over there, her departure scheduled for about 10 minutes from now.